So I thought I'd make this first one for PTG Football about the kickoff and maybe just about some of the cards in general, some of the values and things. So kickoff is pretty straightforward. As you can see, if you watch the first video, you'll notice a few things are different, which I have Minnesota and Jacksonville player cards laid out, and I have a little bit, a little different organization. You can see the cameras in a different place. So I'm kind of jammed up a little bit because the camera is sitting on the table and I have to make sure everything fits, or relatively everything fits on the screen so you can see it. So what we have here is this is Minnesota side, that's Jacksonville side. Defense on the right, offense on the left, which is different than what I normally do. Offense on the right over here, defense on the left, to match each other up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kickoff, then we're going to talk about the player cards, offense and defense and special teams for just a couple of minutes. This will be a pretty short video. So we're going to have Jacksonville kick off to Minnesota for absolutely no reasoning other than that's who I chose. So Jacksonville was funny because in 2020 they had, I believe, 7 people as kickers. I think it was 7 different kickers. Now I think we have 5 or 6 of them in the card set. So I chose Aldrich Rosas as the kicker for this particular instance to do the kickoff. And the returners we have for the kick return, we're going to use KJ Osborne of Minnesota. So to give you a sense of, this is a kickoff card. That's Aldrich Rosas's kickoff card. By the way, these are cut out by me, printed on paper and then cut out. So I don't offer these sets for sale on drive-through cards because there's roughly 2,000 cards in a set, and so it would cost well over $200 for anyone to buy them. It would cost me almost, well, actually with shipping and things, it would cost me about $200 to buy them. So it would cost you, more than that. So it makes no sense to have them printed at drive-through cards. As much as their cards are very lovely, it's just financially not sensible. So that's the kickoff card. Here's KJ Osborne's punt return and kick return columns. You'll see both on there for every player who does the returning. So we flip the first card. See, it's a 50. We go to Rosas as a 50, as a 64-yard kick. It's a 35-yard line start in this particular year of the NFL. So 1 yard line, can't let it roll in on a kickoff. So 58, we look up KJ Osborne. A 58 under kick return is, I'll let you find it also, 22 yards. So we're going to start 1st and 10 at the 23-yard line. We live in a very small apartment, so this is not a table that's normally set up. This table has 2 leaves that fold down, and that's how it normally sits. It sits up against the window, folded down. So it's a very awkward place for me right now to be, honestly. There just isn't room in this 700 square foot apartment for a table. We literally have no tables. We have a little tiny glass table over there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. I don't think you can. Little tiny round glass table. It's about a foot, not even a foot by a foot, circular, that has pictures of our son's wedding and things like that on it. So anyway, yeah, there's no room for tables. All right, so that's a kickoff. That was literally it. It took 2 seconds. So I'll go through the fact deck and things in the different cards. What I want to talk about for just a couple minutes is the various types of player cards that we have. So you've seen kickers, you've seen kickoff, you've seen returners. So this is a punter card, Britton Colquitt of Minnesota. You can see it has a min, a max, a fair catch range, and then a bunch of yardage values with die or action deck numbers. You can freely use dice. So what you would do is you would roll, there's also this little CC value, which is the coffin corner adjustment, if you so desire to try to punt it, deeper. So that's, basically you would flip the card, read it. If it's, if it's in the min range, then you read what the minimum yardage is. And if it's in this case, in Britton Colquitt's case, his min and max, 28 and 59, are actually in the values down below. So he doesn't actually, it'll be literally in the values down below. If his minimum was less than 25 or his maximum was more than 62, there'd be some range there for it. So, yeah, actually, here's a good example. Here's Logan Cook, the Jacksonville punter. You can see where his minimum is in the range, 29, but his maximum is outside the numbers down below. So it gives him a range, if you roll or pull the card, of hitting the maximum kick. Okay, so that's basically special teams. So we'll go through a little bit of offensive line now. So this is Brian O'Neill. He's a tackle for Minnesota. So the reason I chose him was that A, he has all the tackle values, but B, he has the barbell on him. So there is a fatigue factor for offensive lines and defensive lines. That fatigue factor gets adjusted up or down, well, up, really, gets better for the more guys with barbells. Now the barbell is a durability. It means the guy played more than X number of percentage of snaps. So in the case of Brian O'Neill, he played more than, I don't remember what the number was, percentage. It varies based on the position, and receive the barbell. So that's a +1. Now Minnesota actually has 3 guys, so that'd be +3. Jacksonville has 1, so they would get a +1 to their fatigue modifier. So fatigue modifier occurs as a total calculation of plays. So it's not something that happens in every play. It takes 15 plays minimum to even get there first. Okay, so that's that. Okay, that's the barbell. Oh, sorry. So So as you can see, you have player name, team. By the way, every player that played on multiple teams has a card on that team. That's why there's so many. Also, NFL rosters are very big. So they have a position. They have an injury value, which is the number of games played. So if you rolled an injury, and then it was, in this case, right tackle, you would look up under the 16 and see how long he'd be out injured for. He can't be hurt for more than game plus. The best he can be hurt for is rest of game, because he played in all the games. So below that is the run block value, and then so that's the run battle. And then below that, sack, hit, and hurry is for the pass battle. Now those values go from 1 to 5. The run goes from 0 to +4. The sack block, hit block, and hurry block values go from 1 to 5. They're same on offense and defense. So you're comparing apples to apples. So in the case of Brian O'Neill, let's say there was a battle and he was going to be battling, for the sake of discussion, he was going to be battling Dewan Smoot. So say it's a sack battle. So you can see he's a 3 and Smoot is a 3. So there's no plus or minus to it. It's just literally a straight up value. And so there'd be a tie in that case. Let's say it was a hit, what's the quarterback hit, right? So O'Neill is a 2, Smoot is a 3, so Smoot's going to win, so he's going to end up hitting the quarterback and modifying his completion range. And then at the bottom of the cards now, for all except special teams, is positions, games played, or snaps at position. So you can tell where they played in a general sense. In the offensive line, it's per position, but as we'll look at the other positions, we'll see it becomes more general. So that's an offensive lineman. So let's look at a fun one. Quarterback, you'll just love the cut on this card. I did a real butcher job on Kirk Cousins' card at the top of the cards. All right, so what you're looking at here is he's an A quarterback, as you can see right below his name. It's an A to a D. An A is a starter, basically. Started more than 50% of the snaps. Injury value, again, same scale. You can see it's a screen, quick, short, long. Next to the word screen, you'll see a number. Now, this is on very few quarterbacks. So you'll see a number. That's actually a clutch passer modifier. So if you're in a clutch situation, you would modify. So in this case, Kirk Cousins is really good in the clutch. By comparison, Gardner Minshew has none of those. So he was average or worse than average. You have to be an exceptional quarterback to get any numbers there. All right, below that, and you'll see where inside of each of those is a complete, an incomplete, or an interception range. And then below that is the pass rush. So if there's a pass rush called or a blitz, pass rush called from the quarterback card. So you'll see here where it's the pass direction, right? Pass direction is under there. Shows you where the card playing is going. It could say pass rush, which is the same as a blitz, really. And that's a battle. And the first thing you do is you check the quarterback card to see, well, what are they battling about? Are they going to sack him? Are they going to hit him? Are they going to hurry him? Or is he going to run? If he runs, he has the option of actually throwing on the run also. So you would roll the dice or pull the fact number, we'll pull it here. That's no good. That's a Z. Doesn't help any. 70. So you would look under here and you'd say, okay, so that's a battle to see if you hurry him. Now a hurry is a +7. Sorry, I have a terrible memory. +5 to the throw. And that modifier actually comes into play here in this complete, incomplete number down here at the bottom. So the modifier of a hit or hurry actually gets modified to these numbers, not these. Once the pass is either a pass rush or a blitz, these numbers are no longer in effect, because the incomplete range is actually taken over by, or can be taken over by the deep backs or whoever the defender's intercept range is. So rather than being the way that a pass works normally, an interception works is you check the quarterback's card first, and then you check the defender. So even though, for example, you can see under a quick pass, Kirk Cousins throws a 96 intercept. If the card pulled was a 96, you'd be like, oh crap, it's a possible interception. Then you pull the deep back and you find out that he's a 98. It's not picked off. So in the case of a pass rush or a blitz, the 96 on the defender would take over part of that incomplete range. That's how that works. And then, of course, above that is the actual rushing, which you'll see something similar on the running back and receivers cards here in a minute. So you see in his case, he has a 3 rest rate, which means he can run more than your normal quarterback, because he did. And that's not scrambles, that's just literally called runs. So those are the ranges beside the yardage. And you'll see next to that where it says QB, HB, WR, and TE. That's snaps for the quarterback. So if you wanted to line him up outside, out in the case of his kid, if you really wanted to put him in a halfback position for a play, I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to, you could. That is really built for Taysom Hill. As you'll see, Taysom Hill actually is the only quarterback with a receiver running back card because, of course, he did it enough. So, and then you'll see at the bottom, you can see where it's the number of yards, and then a break, and then a max, and then a fumble and a sack fumble. If he's sacked, you check the fumble range there. It's usually a larger range. Okay, so let's look at a running back. Let's look at Dalvin Cook. So you'll see where you've got columns for rush, screen, quick, short, and long. Now, in the case, most running backs do not actually catch what we consider to be a short or a long pass. And those are air yards. That's not just total yards, that's air yards. We use air yards and then yards after completion. So the rush is the rush. It's pretty standard. If you call a running play, you're checking this column against a -2 to 9, a short game, which is 10 to 20, or a break, which is 21 plus yards. And there's a letter value there also that if you want to use the chart instead of the number at the top. So you had Dalvin Cook as a 70, which is column G if you wanted to use the breakaway table to roll against. Next is the screen, so you're throwing a screen pass. Then the next column with the long yardage there. The quick, so you can see the screen goes from -3 to 9, and then a short gain, then a break. A quick goes from -2 to 9, then a short gain or a break. A short goes from 10 to 19, and then a break, and then a long column fills in with the appropriate yardage. You'll see that in a moment on a receiver's card. So as true with the receivers, all the ball handlers, you'll also see at the bottom, you'll see a blocking value. So that's a run blocking value. You'll see their running and receiving fumble ranges. And then you'll see their fullback, halfback, wide receiver, or tight ends snaps. So you could actually line this guy up at tight end for 2 plays. I don't know why you would. He can't block, so there's no reason to put him out there to really pass catch because he only really catches a quick as far as you're concerned for receiver types. There's really no reason. He was probably lined up out there as a decoy. Wide receiver probably threw wide receiver screens to him. Okay, now we'll look at CJ Hamm for just a moment. CJ Hamm is a fullback, and you can see he blocks at +3. That's the reason CJ Hamm is there. CJ Hamm is not there to run. You can see it's 0, 2, 4, or short gain possibility. So you're not really going to get much. I mean, he has a tiny chance of a screen being something reasonable or a quick, but really he's there to run block, and that's why he's a 4-4 rest rate. Real quick, sorry to double back on you, Dalvin Cook here, but Dalvin is a 0-2. So he's a 0 running back, running, and 2 rest rate receiver. So you can run him every play without being tired, but if he's a receiver and you throw to him, you direct the pass at him, not a redirect, but you direct the pass at him and he catches it or doesn't catch it. If you throw the pass at him, then he's tired as a receiver for 2 plays, which means you'd have to bring him off the field, sit him down for 2 plays. So I suspect that he probably caught some, and then, it's the way this game operates, he doesn't stay on the field. I think that's an unfair advantage that certain players would have if you were to be able to leave them on the field, as they rested. It makes no sense. So there's that. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to look at Justin Jefferson, young rookie receiver. This is the rookie card. So Justin played 16 games. You can see that next to RR is /0, so there's no rushing. You see there's nothing in the rushing column, so he can't run the ball. You can't hand off to him at all. So he's a 0 rest rate receiver. You can see that the screen, very few. Now the screen, again, is designed, is air yards. So in our estimations, he did not catch wide receiver screens. He caught what we consider to be quick passes. So you can see in his case, he starts at 4 yards at a quick and he goes to 33. On a short, he has an 11 all the way to, of course, the break. And then on the long, you can see where there are numbers filled in. So if you remember, Dalvin's card didn't have anything on the short or long, especially on the long. The numbers, the yardage values are filled in once the card is if the player has the longs. The long is air yards of 21 plus yards. So he caught 20 plus air yards. So he caught at least one 20-yard pass. Obviously, he caught many more than that. We all saw it, many touchdowns. So that's how a long column is then generated. It takes the actual long, puts it at the bottom, takes 20 as the minimum, and then disperses the values across. So that's how Justin Jefferson ends up with a card like this. You can see down below, no fullback handle. 3 as a halfback. Obviously didn't run the ball. He just probably lined up and then went out wide. Obviously a wide receiver or a tight end. And then he didn't really fumble. We don't have this game. You can't not fumble. So 100 is basically the worst value. So he probably, if he fumbled, he may have done it once, but he probably didn't fumble at all. So that's a receiver card. So what we have here is we have the 5 offensive linemen. Adam Thielen is split out left. There's Kirk Cousins, tight end of Kyle Rudolph. He's a 3 best rate, blocks at +1. Justin Jefferson is the flanker. Dalvin Cook in back 1. CJ Hamm is going to be our blocking back, and then the flanker, of course. So that's the offense. Now we're going to show you defense, and we're going to use, we'll use Minnesota's. All right, so defensively, we already spoke just a moment about these guys, but I'll show you a good defensive lineman here. Where is he? Where is the young man? Maybe these guys didn't have it. Oh, there he is. Okay, so we're going to use Doug Costlin of Jacksonville for the sake of the discussion. So you can see again, name, position, defensive tackle, defensive end, injury value 12. So he has a possibility of getting hurt for game plus. Sack, hit, hurry. Again, that's just a straight comparison to the offensive lineman. He doesn't pass rush. You can tell. Defensive tackle, he ain't going to pass rush much. Pass defense, slot coverage, pass deflect, fumble adjustment, and fumble. So a pass defense value is for the flanker positions, flanker 1, flanker 2. Slot coverage is for the ends, but either end or tight, right or left, because that's what in the NFL, that's what it actually is. That's actually the slot receivers. So in the case of this game, because so many defensive ends now play drop back and pass coverage, we decided to add that to the repertoire. Now, of course, you'll see with a guy like this guy, right? He played on the line. He really was an interior lineman. One snap, as you can see at the very bottom, one snap at a linebacker position. Don't know which one off the top of my head, but he probably lined up on the outside one play or something. So, but you'll see, and then pass deflect, of course, the ball can be deflected at the line. You can be a 0 to 3 on that. Fumble adjustment is if there's a fumble play called and you're the defender, you can adjust it. So some of these guys have like 8. You could cause the fumble, help really cause the fumble. Then of course fumble is just them fumbling. So let's find, as it happens, these two teams don't have people that do those particular things very well, the pass coverage and things. Okay, so let's do a linebacker next. So we'll look at Eric Kendricks, Minnesota. So Eric, linebacker, 11-game injury. So tackle value -4, so he's a heavy tackler. Our tackle value is not based off the number of tackles that the player made. It's a combination of several statistics, and tackles is not actually one of those statistics because it's such a bogus value for figuring out tackle value for players. Sack, hit, hurry is, as explained many times. Fumble adjustment, same as the defensive lineman. You can see he can pass cover and he can slot cover. So this is a very valuable guy. And the reason I say that is that, and you can see he intercepts at a 97. So at the bottom, you can see where he played 699 snaps as a linebacker, 22 as a free safety, and 33 as a corner. So while the game has restrictions against or moving players around, this player could play in the third row in pass coverage. There's a modifier for it, but he could do it. So he could be better as a pass cover guy, unless you wanted to use him. The pass defense value works against the linebackers. So if you put him in F or J, he's covering one of the backs. That would be, certainly also fine. But he could drop back, cover one of the flankers. So what he probably did is he probably dropped back in coverage for that many plays, 22 and 33, to cover. Whether it was a long pass or whatever, he's a more athletic linebacker than most. So you'll see here's an interesting case of a linebacker who cannot pass defend but can slot cover. So he played very few snaps at linebacker, none at free safety, 7 at corner. So he graded out as an exceptional slot cover guy is what happened. You can see tackle value, nothing, only played 3 games. But in the 3 games, he was an outstanding slot cover guy. So he's probably a hybrid player. If you were to extrapolate out the season, he's probably more of a hybrid player. But he could drop back into coverage. Again, there'd be a modifier. So, yeah, here's another interesting one. Minnesota's got a whole bunch of these types of guys. Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith is a safety by trade. Tackle value -2. Safeties don't generally grade higher than a -2 at tackle value. Sack, hit, hurry, in case, because of course you can bring those guys up to the front line. They get included in if you blitz or pass rush value comes up and there's a tie. So remember earlier we talked about a tie in the sack, hit, hurry. If there's a tie, you add up everybody on the lines, and this guy would become more valuable. Okay, so the fumble adjustment, pass defense, slot coverage, intercepts at a 95, which is really good. And you can see a pretty fair split. Linebacker, free safety, corner. Played a lot of coverage for a guy that we think of as mostly a linebacker. So I think that covers all of the basic players. So a quick summation of this before I cut this video off. So we've looked at doing a kickoff and looked at the individual player cards for offense and defense. And the next videos will be a little bit of a run play, a little bit of a pass play. I won't get real fancy with everything, but give you the basics, give you a sense of what's going on, and we'll go from there. Thanks for joining.